EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group Country Cold Store.
Co-op Bank introduces e-payments, our new e-banking feature that allows you to make payments online hassle-free. Log in securely with biometric technology. Make recurring payments easier with automated scheduling. Save time by paying your bills online. Transfer money to accounts at other local and regional banks. Send wire transfers on the go to anywhere in the world. Or send money to friends or family using Buddy Payment. E-payments, the swift, simple, and secure way of transferring money. Welcome home.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
And Tillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring the right people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, we can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Wonderful. Welcome, goodly folks. As per usual, pull up your chair. Tell a friend, as many friends as possible. Gather your household. And let's have some frank talk. Thank you for joining as you continue this is your third month now, actually, that journey into 2023. Effortlessly wiser and a lot more aware as to how, what, who, when, and where to avoid on your forward, onward, and upward journey. This is our 111th independent live session and 9th for 2023. Goodly folks, remember to share the live. Our topic for today, very salacious I find, if I may say so myself. Things always tight with parasites, lies and deception in full effect. You know, as we all should know by now, a parasite is anything that sucks the life out of something else without contributing anything to that which it latches onto for its own benefit. This description fits many people that we know who latch on to others only for what they can get from them. The more formal yet short definition of parasite is an organism that lives on or in a host organism and gets its food from or at the expense of its host. In context of parasites being humankind, many of whom we live among, they effect their parasitic progress through lies and deception. And God knows we have experienced them all too often among us. Folks, pull up your chair, man. Pull up your chair and pay attention so that we can spot them in our workplaces. Spot them if you are a student in your classrooms, in your churches. Oh, Jesus help you. The church or churches are like a factory for parasites. On our committees, organizations, associations, social clubs. Trust me, folks. If many of you would pay attention, you may even realize that through this edition of Edification 155, your cover is likely to be blown, and people are now able to identify the parasite in you when they encounter you. What would be even better is that people who are not parasitic will be able to forecast your attempt at a rival to beg them from a mile off. How many people do you know that mimic this description of a parasite in real life? The magic question is, can a human being be a parasite? The simple answer is yes. We live with a lot of them. It is unfortunate that people who do not establish firm and strong boundaries are always soft targets for others whose sole intention is to latch on to others for unbridled support without contributing anything to the source of their free sustenance. Such people are looters, thieves, and just plain mindless scoundrels. Our society has produced at least 2 generations of such people, starting in 1995. A third was averted by the outcome of the elections of June 23rd, 2022. Thank God. We can hear them screaming and scampering while clutching at straws today, just because their source of scraps off the table of plenty, as enjoyed by the old nastiness and his brigands, has dried up. But according to one and only sensibly elected opposition parliamentarian, election comes with consequences. You all remember that? This is to say, not all the time is your time. June 23rd, 2022 proved that the vipers of society, ably led by that old nastiness, their turn at the wheel is over. We have to make sure it is over for good. Why is a person called a parasite? A person who receives support, advantage, or the like from another or others without giving any useful or proper return, as one who lives on the hospitality of others, they're greedy politicians, parasites with their snouts in the public trough. Too many Grenadians have allowed themselves to be inferiorized over the years by terribly inferior leaders who recultured them into beggars and seekers of freeness. And as is evidently, we can see it all over, easily evidenced, all over Grenada. They are not prepared to work, but to sit back and depend solely on handouts, which they feel they're entitled to. Now that national policies have changed in the main, with a transformation agenda to transition that widespread thinking and behavior, it has ignited the furor of the parasites to the point where their elitism of ignorance can be found all over social media, wishing one term for the objective administration whose intention it is to help rewire their minds to become productive, for the collective good of our nation. Folks, listen to me carefully. If we pay close attention, we would realize that the topic under discussion here today is alive and well among us, as we can hear the complaints about how things bad. And it has never been so bad under the last administration. But things always tight for and with parasites, lies and deception in full effect. Interestingly, the majority of people in Grenada are not agreeing with the noise we are hearing in the market. Thank God for that, because they voted the inferior lot out of office as they were fed up with the eater food culture that was a burden to our national coffers, skillfully used to attract continuous support, while their supporters were kept poor and vulnerable to keep the profitable tiffin industry alive. That industry was fed with that old nastiness and his brigands, delivering scraps to the multitudes, while the lean of the meat was kept for themselves under the guise of taking care of the poor and vulnerable. What I can never get over, though, is the fact that many of us who know better and either never supported that old nastiness and his crew, or supported at one time, and upon realizing that they were all about what they were all about, the people would have absconded from them. Or support, it's just they removed their support from them, whether early or late. All of us cannot come to terms with the fact that so many have remained in tow with this old nastiness and his brigands. We can only conclude that by their insistence, they have to have nastiness in their DNA to mimic their chief. It's always going to happen that when change comes in government policies, the supporters of the new administration will feel relieved at the prospects of change that will benefit them, and in the main, the greater population. But in politics, we find the "my policy better than yours" mantra is always alive, always alive. However, in this case, it is clear that that old nastiness and his brigands never had any good intention for this nation. As if they had, we would have been further along with our true north development. The old nastiness had every opportunity to be a shining example of what a maximum leader truly looks like. And because of his innate character flaws, could not measure up at all. The People's Revolution of Maurice Bishop and Bernard Cord had absolute power outside of the national constitution, which they did not acquire by the ballot, but instead by the gun, and did very well in 4.5 years in office before their catastrophic end on October 19th, 1983. While in the post-revolutionary context, the period 1995 to 2022, with the exception of a short window, 2008 to 2013, the longest serving administration during that entire period amassed a lifespan of nearly 24 years in office. And all we can see with our eyes are poverty, dunceness, corruption, sellout to international cons, a totally mangled public service led in the main by political lackeys and party hearts, disheveled health and education systems, and don't talk about agriculture, no structure at all. But let's talk about the police force. A pale reflection of what a national security force should look like, with all kinds of lackeys strewn at all levels running amok. All the while, the National Treasury used as a piggy bank to dole out pittance that added up to millions monthly in handouts. to keep stupid people stupid in their support for their feeders. Now the feeders are gone with no source of fund. They handout culture. Things are tight with their parasitic die-hard supporters who peddle lies and deception day in, day out. So you see, things always tight for and with parasites. Lies and deception in full effect. A salacious topic today, isn't it? Oh, the parasites must be anguishing. They must be angry. They must be, what do we? Don't listen, because you might get your stroke. I have a lot more coming.
EDDIE-FICATION with consulting human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited, Antillian Group, Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring the right people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, we can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training, and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, wonderful, folks. Welcome back. And of course, this is where we pay a little respect to all you lovely people joining. On one platform, we have Sam Anther, Jillian, we have Cynthia, we have another, this one is Samantha, we have Marietta, who else? Yvette, Rena, it's a while I haven't seen you, Carl, Alice, Shirley Ann, Ezra, Lydia, congratulations, my dear, you know for what. We also have Miasha Tool. Oh, bless your heart. I follow you. You are such a motivation. But you must think about men too, right? Because I noticed you're dealing with the sisters. But don't worry, I'm finding out what advice you're giving the sisters, what motivation and inspiration you're sharing with them, because I'm following you. So I know what's going on. Roger, welcome. Who else do we have here? Wendy Ann. Karen, Belinda, trust all is well, my dear. Trust all is well. Blessings to you too. Agatha, my karaoke friend, she's such a good sport. It's wonderful. Anasha, Sonia has been a while, you know. You might have to stand up at the back of the class on top of your chair for a little, you know. I haven't seen you in a little bit. Patty, welcome. Dawn, Marlene, Tahira, who else do we have here? Humble Man, Margaret, welcome. Quince, welcome. Good. So that takes care of one platform. The other platform we have here, oh boy, this is the one I tell you, a lot of talking, a lot of chatting, a lot of contributions are made on this particular one here. Kathleen, who else? Elisa, Nikisha, Alice, Princess, Yulene, Charmaine, Jackie, Anne, Renee, Jennifer, Shadona, another Margaret, Sawandi, bless your heart. I didn't see you last week. I'm sure you probably were there, but I didn't see you last week. I can't remember seeing you last week anyhow. Renee, Kathy, David, Benedict, Shirley Ann, another Yvette, Marva, Tubbs, good to see you online. Carol, Linda, Bree, Peter, welcome. Janice, Vivian, Kanisha, who do we have again? Aria, Lily, Anne, Tamika, Judith, Rosalind. Just really want to show you all some love and some, gratitude for tuning in. Rosalind, Linda, who else? Dread, welcome, my dear. It's a wonderful pleasure to have you. Janice, Princess, who else? Lacey or Lassie, L-A-C-I, Lacey, Helena, Jossie, Guava Spice, love that. Kimmy, I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Irva. Folks, thanks for joining. Continue to hit that share button and let's get some people in the room. Welcome back, folks. This past week has been a great one for me, as I believe it has been for so many of you. But only the conscious would realize how great a week it would have been. We woke up every day at home feeling well and therefore alive, not in jail, not sick, not on the way out. And those are reasons for us to have had a good week. We were able to reconnect with our family, relatives, and friends because we were alive, we were above ground, and we have reasons to love it. I was particularly proud to have encountered several people whose lives I impacted positively over the years. How many of you could say the same? Not just about meeting people, but people whose lives you've positively impacted over the years. A now mature woman with children and a good profession who lives abroad was kind to seek me out to reconnect. The truth is, I cannot say that I remember her at all. Yet for all, she told me that if it were not for me, she would not be enjoying the fortunes she was exposed to since her migration. She said my letter of recommendation to an embassy for her to receive a visa for one of the big 2 countries in North America allowed her to migrate in the days when a simple letter of recommendation and its construct used to count for something and had some weight. Back in the day, not much was demanded, but when consistency could be found in the letters of character references, those held on their own, and it was easy passage. She said she transitioned from a domestic help to a typist, to a personal secretary, and today she is a CEO of a mid-sized company managing 650 people and doing well. I salute her proudly. Interestingly, I have written letters of recommendation for so many over my lifetime that I never remembered her at all. But she remembered me. What a joy. The icing on the cake for me was when a young man who was released from prison came to seek assistance with finding a job. I was able to send him to a particular man who owned a certain business that he was well suited for, which could have helped him gather more experience in his craft, which he learned in our prison. You know, that chap managed to find himself when he settled and became a born-again Christian, found his wife in the church and started a family. His life began to show promise from the inception of his getting a job as he felt the calling to go to church so he can expunge the undesirable traits and sanitize himself fully to re-enter society as a proud human. Even though he made a mistake that saw him go to prison for 5 years. Now, after a few years of consistency, he was able to gain access to the US and is today boasting of a solid working experience and a lucrative side hustle at his home after work. He told me he owns his own home and a second home in the US. He's also interested in vintage cars and has managed to acquire 4 so far that are worth in excess of $500,000. I remembered him very, very well. Meeting up with him by providential ordering of the universe this gone week was not surprising at all, as it was only recently I actually thought of him and said to myself, I wonder what has become of this guy. Well, God sent he himself to answer that inquiry, just out of interest. I am so proud of the guidance I received to plant these seeds on fertile ground, which are today causing a harvest for civilization. We have to remember, if one person's life has been made better just by your influence, far less your active help and guidance, your purpose on this earth has been fulfilled. The number of people who are reaching out to me just by Facebook Messenger to say hi and record their support for what I am doing here through this pungently frank, edification series, I know I am on the right track. I always say to people, the same thing some will condemn you for is the very same thing others will love you to death for. Proceed and be you. Do you, regardless of the reactions of others. Once your heart is clean, proceed. Be audacious, daring, bold, and fearless. We live among pussies who hide behind pseudonyms and fake profiles to attack you who are out in the open, living your truth and calling out the things that need calling out in this mostly backward and dunce society. Speak your truth, folks, with courage. The response does not matter, because once you have others responding to you, it means you're ahead of the game. The people who support them are only showing what brigade in the intelligence or lack thereof quadrant of society they belong. I have been influenced over the years, folks, by the following Thomas Jefferson quote: "One man with courage is a majority." You should never apologize for being yourself. If people don't like how you act, how you look, how you speak, that simply means those are not your people. Don't change who you are to match your surroundings. Pick better surroundings and be yourself. I have learned a long time now that if somebody has a problem with you and they are telling everybody else except you, they don't have a problem with you. They just enjoy the attention they get from talking about you. If you have been given a purpose in life and it does not come with challenges and opposition to it, it is not properly ordained or anointed. Every God-given purpose will experience adversity. You are going to have storms in your life. Every storm is a school. Every trial is a test. Every experience is an education. Every difficulty is for your development. Could you imagine how every adversity and challenge could be used to develop muscle of faith on the inside of us to bring us to another place of believing? If your failures did not teach you much more than your successes, you are still wanting in the department of wisdom and enlightenment. It is when you press against something that seems heavy and unbearable. It is when the muscles are broken down and then built up. And yes, you're going to be sore, but it's preparing itself for the next challenge. It's growing you to another level. We are all born with gifts, folks. We were all born with some special gift. If not then you go and get good at something along the way. What are you good at? Don't take what you're good at for granted. Don't betray it. Because if you betray your gift, you betray yourself. It's a sad thing. I could not agree with the following more. The enemy of black people is not white people. The enemy of black people is black people. Your own black brothers and sisters will pull you down in a jiffy. We see this happening here all the goddamn time. After all, we live in a black majority environment where the beat down and the fight down is second nature. It's in their DNA. The psychology of where we come from, an era where we can either be the first black, the only black, or the best black. So our whole definition of success is something of those three blacks. He was the first black to do this, the only black to do this, the best black at doing that. You seldom see blacks fighting to take a share of the market in whatever area they work from the whites or other persuasions. They see the only way for them to succeed is to get another black person down. When it comes to the strife we display against one another, black lives do not matter one bit. We see this here every day. And as I said, we are a majority black nation. We are quick to join the American blacks in their struggle as a minority in the United States against whites, but ignore the many unwarranted struggles against each other of the same color right here among ourselves. Look at how the salt of the earth blind followers of that old nastiness, for instance, display their allergic reaction to order and structure. We see it here every day. The cult following of the old nastiness do not care who they hurt, including themselves, more than anything else, of course. But their blind loyalty to that old nastiness is painful. Black family members fighting against each other for land and other property after the matriarch or the patriarch in their family passed on and probably left things intestate, without a will, that is. Worse yet, if they leave their last will and testament and nothing was left for us, we want to fight for what we feel is rightfully ours. Could you imagine that? We even fight outsiders who are willed something that we feel should have been ours because we share some common atoms in the bloodline. When the stranger was the one who was there for the struggling relative and doing everything to take care of that said relative that passed on. So, rightfully, the passed on relative left something as a gratitude for that person. Why you want to take it from them? That goes on here ad nauseum. When you hear all of these, which have been known to happen and still happening to this day, you must agree that as a race, we have some serious curse indeed. These lumpens of society, as the PRG used to call them, are the ones we have to be vigilant against, letting into our space, because things always tight for and with parasites. Lies and deception in full effect. I can think of two families, folks, that have their stuff together because of how they were socialized by their now deceased parents, the Brathwaites from Old Fort, Godwin Brathwaite and Bonnis Brathwaite. And the Brathwaites from the villa, Sir Nicholas Alexander Brathwaite and Pansy Brathwaite, both in St. George's. Interestingly, 2 brothers married 2 sisters, and all the children grew up as one, very, very close. All you can feel when you encounter them is genuine love. The other family I know has become my adopted family in a manner of speaking. The Cords from Green Street, who spent their latter years on Bailey Hill before migrating to the United States. I can tell you for a fact that these are model families, Brathwaites and Cords, whom I remain eternally close to. A dear cousin of the Cords referred to me consistently as Edward Eddie Cord. I've always remained proud of them both and always used my closeness to them as a yardstick to measure how friendship should really be. These 2 families epitomize the saying, friends are the family you choose. And I thank God for bringing them into my life for a reason, an eternal season. In other words, a lifetime. These 2 can teach the rest of us colored people how to truly be genuine in our interactions with others. Unfortunately, too many people concentrate on their new DNA configuration and are so focused on begging that they have every lie and act of deception to support their popular and loudly consistent cry that things tight. All this time, there are opportunities for gainful employment just about everywhere. But clearly these positions never win favor from these generally lazy people who prefer to make noise about handouts that they feel entitled to receive from the state. So what can we expect in return? Things always tight with parasites, lies and deception in full effect. Folks, we're coming back for another segment. More fire, more fire.
In companies, sure you can do with a continuous.
Oops, I'm sorry about that.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring the right people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, we can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are 2 such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Beautiful, beautiful. And for those of you just joining us, thank you very much for coming in. Come on, hit that share button and let's get some more people in, because there's a lot of fire and brimstone here tonight in terms of the truth. Who vex is their face, as according to my mother. If you vex, you could read the text. Because I've established this a long time now. I'm not on the market for friend. I have who I need already, and we going good. At my age, make new friend easy. You know, friends have already been ensconced. They're there and it's happening. So let's proceed. So take it as it comes. Welcome back, folks. There are at least 3 government ministers who have not yet got the memo relating to how disruptive the nature of the old nastiness and his cult following are prepared to be in order to destabilize the efforts of their administration at transformation. So far, we are hearing all sorts of spurious rumors swirling around supporting opposition to every delivered promise of the new administration, far less all other deliverable ones made on the campaign trail. Imagine a fresh and new entrant to politics upon assuming leadership of the main opposition back in October, November 2021, was able to size up the political landscape, hit the road running while making promises that many doubted were possible. In fact, they were dismissed as campaign gimmicks, which have all been given special attention in the area of realization. But one can understand the doubts in the minds of many as to the seriousness of the Deacon Mitchell administration, the good Mitchell, I dare add, in fulfilling any promise, let alone those hefty ones. After all, that old nastiness took his supporters, along with gullible, unthinking fools, on a journey of tomfoolery, election cycle after election cycle, to no end. Do you remember the oil and gas announcement? What about the Japanese-funded Granditam to St. George's through Lothers Lane Road Improvement Project? Did that ever happen? The Nawasa hundreds of millions of dollars worth water improvement project. Jobs, 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 and more jobs. After repetitive cycles of no post-election deliveries by that old nastiness and his Drake-like crew, what can we expect from our qualified, disbelieving people? Because we were qualified to disbelieve. Who would have ever thought that the return of the docked salaries to striking teachers and sympathizing public servants would have been returned mere weeks after the elections of June 2022? What about the pension payments as ordered by the Supreme Court, whose judgment the old nastiness always ignored in the main, showing how law and order averse he has been throughout his tenure in office, and therefore unfit for the role of national leadership? Who would have ever thought that the transition from once per month to twice per month salaries payments would have been realized at all, yet on its way to becoming a reality just 9 months into the Deacon Mitchell administration's tenure? You ain't see that we have all right to refer to him as the decent Mitchell, and the other one, that old nastiness? I'm sure many of you, like me, remember the old nastiness scoffing at that promise on his decrepit, substance-starved campaign trail as an impossibility, as if to throw cold water on the idea because of the difficulties and challenges involved in doing so, bringing it to fruition. But that's the difference between a visionary leader like the successful corporate lawyer turned politician, the decent Mitchell, and that visionless old nastiness who presided over a law-breaking bunch of goons from 1995 to June 23rd, 2022, for the most part. It's very unfortunate that the 3 current ministers of the new administration identified as needing protection from themselves have had their share of professional experience within the system, and who have absolutely no idea that if they do not assert themselves as leaders of their respective ministries, the goons appointed by that old nastiness would have them for dinner. And that old nastiness will be calling the shots in their respective ministries without them even realizing it. At least 2 of them are not liked at all and admired by many people at all. So much so, their respective constituents are definitely not keen on them returning as candidates in the next general election. Again, who vex is their goddamn face. One constituency has already closed the book on one, and the other, the book's closure is very much on its way. The third one is totally harmless, but needs an injection of some sort of life and awareness to understand the true nature of man, especially that old nastiness. That one, by very nature, is redeemable, as people are prepared to stand in the gap to assist in protecting from the consequences of omissions. Folks, most Grenadians, to a great extent, deserve just about everything that was dished out to them by that old nastiness over the years. Again, their omissions caused them to attract all the lawlessness many of them are complaining about, as if lawlessness just started. You know what was happening? They got so accustomed to it under that old nastiness that it became just a, throughput, natural flow. But as soon as change came, and that was truncated, and the leader of national nastiness is no longer in vogue, they start seeing fault and start calling as if, well, it's this government fault that the place lawless, corrupt, nasty, and diminished almost to nothing. Folks, a lot of Grenadians have seen the decimation of just about every institution provided for in our national constitution. And you know what? As the old people say, they said nothing. Now that the new administration is making every effort to repair and restore order, which involves replacing incompetent misfits placed in positions by that old nastiness to do his bidding and mash up the place, all of a sudden, voices can be heard citing verses, sections, chapters of the Constitution, which was originally ignored in the first place by that old nastiness in his efforts to hijack total authority over this nation through the appointment of these left-handed sycophants. But you know, if these qualities developed and enhanced over the years did not make them deserving of the old nastiness, you tell me what else can we account for them deserving of him and his visionless brigands as their leaders for so goddamn long. Lazy, ungrateful, thankless, miserable, dishonest, absent, unaccountable, irresponsible, hypocritic, mindless, unappreciative, gullible, unable to process and analyze. You know, this list can go on to no end to describe most Grenadians who sat there and said nothing under that old nastiness for so long. Some of them waking up today, finding fault. Are you surprised that the level of functional illiteracy is so high among our people? We see this demonstrated time and time again, just by everyday behavior. Look at the regularity with which the elitism of ignorance has been displayed on social media. Woo! Ventilating our, what you call, functional illiteracy, the high rate every day on social media. But if people knew better, they would do better. But they don't know better. It's sad. Too many people say one thing and do another, to the point where they give life to the strong instruction that we should really focus instead on what people do as against what they say. I have been hard-pressed, folks, to address an issue that I've been privy to for some time now, but preferred to stay away from it for fear that my getting involved could have helped made it worse. The evidence has been clear for the life of the administration of that old nastiness, that he and his gang of goons had absolutely no respect, let alone regard, for the judiciary, a co-equal arm of government. You know, his style was to punish anyone who he could not control. In the case of the police, his style was to undermine the authority of the constitutionally provided for commissioner of police by seeing to it that he got his goons in positions that they were just a phone call away from him, so he could control things within the police force like a puppeteer. During the tenure of the old nastiness, local lawyers felt left out in whatever the sitting Chief Justice had been doing for the rest of the OECS. It wasn't funny. At one time, it was like if the Chief Justice had forgotten Grenada was part of the OECS Supreme Court. I would not be surprised if there is any truth to the allegation that the sitting Chief Justice was allegedly summoned by that old nastiness and allegedly refused to respond the same way a couple of her predecessors was suspected to have responded as a matter of course, and accounted for this deterioration in interest she showed for Grenada as long as that old nastiness was around the precincts of local power. I could see the old nastiness calling her rude just because she was prepared to uphold the separation of powers and remain totally independent, never bending to the whim of any inferior regional politician like of him. Imagine, folks, security for members of the bench, from the level of magistrate to judges, was a serious concern under the tenure of this old nastiness. Could you imagine a magistrate who presides over criminal cases being left to fend for himself or herself, driving long distances without any security detail? Could you imagine judges also having to see to their own security under this old nastiness, just because judgments were never in his favor for all the nonsense cases that were brought to court that never stood a chance of the state winning, costing the people of Grenada tens of millions of dollars? I understand that from time a certain judgment was delivered, it was now self-security was pulled from the judges, something the Commissioner of Police may not have known anything about at all. When one in authority like this old nastiness was, and all he can attract are comments that impute improper motive for his modus operandi, we all should take this as a signal that such elements, such low caste of elements, is unfit and never good for any office that requires integrity as an underpinning. Politicians like that old nastiness is who have the people of the OECS totally reluctant to make the move to the CCJ, where there is evidence to support attempts at interference, and in many cases, blatant interference in the judicial process. Folks, this thing's sad, you know. And y'all not paying attention. You just Google, or you say you just LOLing and supping and taking picture and twisting up your face and taking picture of every food, every plate of food. Some of your food look like, you know, dog refuse or even cat refuse. Look like vomit in your plate. But you have picture and you have to put out what you're eating. All this nonsense all the time, you're not paying attention. And you're not paying attention, and nastiness was running amok in your country. Do you recall when that old nastiness was the only one among his regional peers to withhold his nod for Sir Brian Alleyne, a most outstanding jurist, from becoming confirmed as Chief Justice of the OECS Supreme Court? Imagine a man whose judgments were commended by law lords of London's Privy Council, and who was co-opted from time to time as a law lord himself on the said Privy Council, as the need arose, could not get the nod of this old nastiness that among you tolerated here. Folks, something wrong with this civilization called Grenadians from 1995 to 2022. You know, something wrong with all you. I have learned a long time now, folks, and listen to me carefully, that a commentator reflects the goings on in a specific activity from what he sees, where he stands or sits. If the players in a game are playing nonsense, the commentator has the duty to say so. If the opposite obtains, he has the duty also to say so. That is not him or her bad talking or celebrating the player or players. The actual action of the activity is being relayed. That's all. People like me, whether on radio or social media, that's all we do. Reflect what we see. And that is precisely why I can boldly stand here and tell you things always tight with parasites, lies and deception in full effect. Let's take this final break and then come back for the last segment as we get a little bit more heated.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited, Antillian Group, Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring the right people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, we can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, folks, we on to our last leg here this evening. And I want to just thank you very much for coming in the room, for sharing, for your interactive comments. I know I'm going to probably sleep late tonight simply because I have to take them in. They seem quite salacious, but the nature of this program this evening is salacious. So I imagine you are just sticking to the nature. Welcome back. Grenada and most of the English-speaking Caribbean nations are doomed to attract the lesser mortals of our various societies into politics, as too many people like to wash their dirty mouths on people without any consideration for boundaries. From the time decent people decide to enter the political race, people opposed to them and all other zandoli surface with lies, innuendo, conjecture, fake news, slander, and outright disparaging comments. Do you think decent, qualified citizens would wish to be placed in such compromising positions where gullible majorities are bound to lap up, as truth what people say about even, said about them even before they being elected to represent them. I don't think people want to go through that. Hell no. And that is precisely why people who fit the wood for wood, special wood, wood on wood, wood here, wood there, and wood everywhere, old teeth, chief teeth, all 9 yards, can rise up and become leaders. That's the kind of people among you like. Dirtiness, all kind of people, Zandoli. You just like people that, you see them out of office and they look like 2.5 vagrants around the corner. You're going to elect them to put them in office, to go and negotiate business on your behalf. They go to Argentina, somebody give them a steak on a plate that they never eat in their life, and they give away 50 acres of land for a steak in a plate. That's the kind of people all you like. Because you don't think. You don't think. Folks, what a poor reflection of our people who detest decency. This is simply because, remember I told you? Black hate black. We don't hate white as much as we hate each other. It's sad. It's really, really sad. This is simply because only people with nothing to lose and whose ordinary lives otherwise are starved of status would be prepared to make the sacrifice to rise to the top, aided and abetted by accomplices. You know what George Orwell said? A people that elect corrupt politicians, imposters, thieves, and traitors are not victims, but accomplices. Let's talk a little bit about Andy Williams. He has been known to be a businessman of hotspot fame. He's always had the tendency to be political just by the community spirit he exhibited and displayed while conducting his business. To begin with, he presented a creative business module that catered to the masses by way of affordability. He has an eye for struggling people whom he would reach out to once the spirit moved him. And that spirit used to move him regularly. The stories are aplenty, with him actually crediting some people the goods they came for and forgiving them of their debt and still giving them a handshake. This was him when he was available to run his business physically. He has transitioned into politics, and it is to be expected that his business will suffer the loss of his physical presence while politics benefit. It is important that this business is refinanced, as are so many bigger businesses than his on a regular basis. And more so, especially in light of the COVID-19 pandemic experience that rendered so many of them vulnerable to the aftershocks. What is wrong with a qualified businessman who has always dealt with the Grenada Development Bank, GDB, by virtue of the nature of his business, seeking to refinance his operations in order to right position his finances for continuity without his 100% physical presence? What is wrong with that? Whereas that bank has been the only financial institution he deals with, you want to tell me because he's in politics today, he should seek refuge elsewhere in another bank to please who? All of you that run in your mouth now, where you were when all these guarantees to these foreign cons were given and they drew down, and you are now eating the bread the devil need to pay those monies back. Where were you? What about the call center in Grenville or in St. Andrew, whose family members of the public official, the old nastiness, are never repaid. Where were you? You find your mouth now. You find your mouth. You find your tongue. Some of you just have costs. But you know what they say, you don't put your children behind to beat them, you put them in front. So Andy, you have to take courage. You're in front. You're ahead. That is what is important there. It's sad. It's really, really, really sad. Who are the people attempting to besmirch his character as if to impute improper motive on his and the government's part? Who are these people? In the case of one, politics has ruined everything for that one. To the point where, with a little imagination and tendency towards minding their own business, they might be able to stave off the bank from an impending foreclosure. Oh God, mind your business now. Andy minding his. While they are worrying about Andy, whose business is in good hands and progressing smoothly as a result of refinancing, which he's qualified to receive and has received, that person is believed to be off track with their very own business. That is what you call a lesson in good consequences of focus, Andy, as against bad consequences of lack of focus. Then, a kayak friend recently told me that it would appear that the more they smear the campaign they try against Andy, is the more popular he is becoming throughout the Tri-Island state. Isn't that interesting? So much so, he's one of 2 rock stars in the current Good Mitchell administration. That is why the National Democratic Congress, NDC, at its tomorrow convention, would do well, will be well advised to elect this action-oriented titan to the position of General Secretary of the party, simply for his ability to mobilize and implement things while remaining focused. His energy is the energy needed at this moment, so membership of the party could be increased and activities of the party could be meaningfully engaging to maintain interest in the party and government. I invite you to join me in wishing them well for the attainment of the desired outcomes of what is billed to be a successful party convention. As I close, I beckon everyone to remember that if you take pain to ally with some cold drops of modesty, you're skipping spirits. You will not be misconstrued in the place you go to by just your wild behavior and lose all hope. Oh, what a little focus can do for us all, so that we do not descend to the level where we can fit the DNA of all who complain that things always tight for them, as if to prove their parasitic tendencies, and resort to lies and deception to extract for free living from others. Oh, Gid. We have too many parasites in this little country. And because the place is small, they concentrated. They all around you. Just parasite, parasite, parasite. Folks, take pain to ally with some cold drops of modesty or skipping spirits. Stay focused. I beckon all our young people in this country. I am rooting for you. Assert yourselves so that you can gain your rightful place in society. And see how you could get a lot of these old, stale farts that are out of timing, blocking space, valuable space. Get them out of the way. I am rooting for you. But you have to stay awake. You have to become conscious of your role in this society. You have to remain vigilant because this is your time. And this is your time. You know, I know it's your time because this is the only chance you would have gotten after so many years of that old nastiness, pulling wool over your eyes, telling you you're worth only $800 and $1,200 and confining you to a life of poverty and vulnerability. Those days are over. But you have to have a little patience, because I tell you something. If a boat is going full steam ahead to the south and the captain gets a call from headquarters telling him, the captain, that he must change course and turn around, there will be a drag. You know what I mean by a drag? A boat never turns around right away. As soon as he gets the command and he obeys it, the boat continues to move in the same direction it was originally going before it actually makes the loop and turns around. But it still continues in the same direction. Things will change, but you have to have patience. That old nastiness was around for too long. And it is your omissions that caused it. So don't lose patience with a new driver who is intent on taking you somewhere desirable. You have to be prepared to be that conscious to understand patience is key. Nothing happens before it's time. And you are going to be the sacrificial lambs to make your contributions to do what? To clean up this place for the next generation to follow. I always say my one child and my adopted son will never be able to ask me, what is it you did or did not do to cause us to be living in this kind of condition where the society and the civilization just seem so decrepit, diminished. They will never have to ask me that because they see me functioning. They see me resisting it, and they see me making a difference. And that's one of the reasons why so many Grenadians are forgettable, because y'all are just takers. Gimme, gimme, you're from the gimme, gimme gang. Takers, takers, and you're not givers. That's why a lot of you are not blessed. That is why a lot of you eating the bread the devil need. That is why a lot of you have to resort to the statement, things tight. Because you're parasites. Take, take, take. No, give, give, give. And then you resort to lies and deception to attract more of your parasitic tendencies. Folks, we have a lot of work to do in this country. Grenada has become a large dustbin, garbage heap. Societal mores and social mores are just at the bottom. It's sad. But it is our omissions that caused it. Our omissions over the years caused that old nastiness to run amok and feeling that he is integral to the historic landscape. First political party and leader to win 15 seats always. How? How? At the expense of people. Poor and vulnerable. I'm totally out of it. So sad. But anyhow, I remind a lot of you, you got a lot of free food, you eat a food. I hope you purge by now. Because going forward, there will be no opportunity to just eat free food anymore. You have to become productive. You have to get yourself involved in the process of building your country, not mashing up your country as aided and abetted by no old nastiness. That done. Folks, I think I've ranted enough. I am in, I'm out, and I'm gone. See you next week, God willing, for regular programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and remain lifted, please. Remain lifted.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group Country Cold Store.
Co-op Bank introduces e-payments, our new e-banking feature that allows you to make payments online hassle-free. Log in securely with biometric technology. Make recurring payments easier with automated scheduling. Save time by paying your bills online. Transfer money to accounts at other local and regional banks. Send wire transfers on the go to anywhere in the world. Or send money to friends or family using buddy payment. E-payments, the swift, simple, and secure way of transferring money.
Welcome home. I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Tillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring the right people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, we can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
EDDIE-FICATION with